type the command Python, the version that's used when you just type Python is 2.7. Okay, if you want, you can type Python 3 version. So the command is Python 3 for Python 3, using Python version 3 basically. So we have Python 3.5.2. Now, if you don't want to have to type Python 3 and you'd rather just type Python and you only want to use Python 3, here's what you do. Okay, we're going to remove the Python 2 binary using the following command: sudo remove rm, and we go user bin Python. Okay, so this is going to remove Python 2. Stick in my password. Okay, so we've removed that, and now what we're going to do is we're going to create a symbolic link to the Python 3 library using that Python command. So we say sudo link, right, ln, symbolic usr bin Python 3. Okay, we're going to connect to the Python 3 user bin when someone just types Python. Okay, so now if we type Python version, we're automatically calling Python 3. Okay, you could just use Python 3 command, but I like to just use Python itself. Okay, so the next step is we want to install the Python, it's package installer for Python. It's called pip. Before we do that, we need to update the system's package index. So we say sudo apt get update. Put in the password. And then we're going to install pip for Python 3. So we say sudo apt get install Python 3 pip package installer for Python. Say yes. Let the system install it. So we need this package installer to install modules for Python. Okay, so pip has been installed. Now we're going to install the MySQL server. So we say sudo apt get install MySQL server. Okay, this will also install the client on your machine. Say yes. New password for the MySQL root user. So we're going to use a password. Okay. So MySQL is just finishing, and then we'll secure the installation of MySQL. What we're going to do next is we're going to run MySQL secure installation, and this is just going to make sure that we have the most secure setup here. Alright, enter the password. Okay. And now it's going to check, basically, do we want to validate and check the security? We're going to say yes. Okay, we're going to go with the strongest one. I'm going to go with 2 for strong. And let's take a look and see. Change the password for root. We don't need to because we've already used, it says here that the estimated strength of the password, the current password, it is strong enough. So I'm going to say no for now. So we've checked that out. Remove anonymous users. I'm going to say yes. No guest. Here it's saying that local host, okay, the root can only be allowed from local host, so this computer basically, and we're going to say yes. We're going to disallow root login remotely. I think the latest version of MySQL actually prohibits this anyway, but we're going to disallow it here. And remove the test database. I'm going to say yes as well. Reload the privileges table, yes. We want to have flush all privileges, and we're ready to go. So we've basically secured our MySQL installation. It's just an extra security check. Okay, so now we're going to use pip, which we installed previously, to install a module for Python called PyMySQL. And we do that very simply. Sudo pip3 install PyMySQL. Okay, so this is a module that comes with Python. Okay, so we downloaded PyMySQL. You can see here it's a wheel file. We've downloaded and we've installed it using pip. Apache. So Apache, it's a web server, and that's installed very simply. Sudo apt-get install Apache 2. It's the current version. Say yes. And basically, anything in, I'll show you the folder, anything that's in here is in var www. We're going to get that. It's coming up soon. Okay, we're going to see a folder here called www. As soon as this is done, a new folder will be created, and it's in the HTML subfolder. Okay, so here's www, HTML. Anything in here will be served. So this is where local, if you go into, for example, let me open up Firefox. It might show first boot. This is a brand new deployment of Ubuntu. But if I just go here, let me just close these out here. Close that one. Okay, if I just go here and type localhost. Okay, it's going to open up the index. So index, you see the file, see index.html? That's what this guy is. This guy is index.html. Okay, I'm just going to lower this for a second. So basically we've installed Apache. Okay, so by default, this is where the Apache server serves files from this location. Okay, now what we want to do, we've got Python, we've got MySQL, and we've got Apache installed. But what we want to do is we want to register Python with Apache. Okay, we basically want to have Apache run .py files as executables. A2, so Apache 2 dis mod npm event. Okay, so this is a multi-threaded process. So we want to remove or disable this event so that we can then give it permission to run scripts. So now we're going to give it permission to run scripts. So we say A2 enable mod npm prefork. Okay, so we had to, and then CGI. Okay, so we had to disable it in order to make these changes. Okay, this is an error, but it doesn't really matter. Don't worry about this. It seems like it could not rely. It's not really an error, but it's a note. Okay, we don't have to worry too much about this. We will run Apache 2 restart in a second, but we have to make a few more changes. So the last thing we have to do here is make some changes to the Apache config file. Okay, and we're going to use nano to do that. So we say sudo nano. Okay, and the config file for Apache is etc Apache 2. Okay, and it's sites enabled, and then default. So this is the default config. Say OK. Okay, so all we have to do here, we're going to leave this var www.html. These are all comments, so we don't have to worry about those. But right here, we're going to add the following text. Okay, so let's go in here, and we're going to say in this directory. Okay, so var www.html. Okay, so in the directory are basically are the directory for the server. What we're going to do is we're going to add the ability to run Python scripts. Okay, so we say options and then add exec CGI. Okay, and then we want to add handler. We want to add CGI scripts. And we're going to basically say that this is where we're saying that we want to be able to run Pythons. We want it to be able to run Python scripts. There is one thing that you can do. I'm going to just show you it's commented out here. If you want to call, let me see, directory index. Okay, and then index.py. Okay, this is basically saying that call index. You know how we have index.html called by default, or in C you call main.c or main, the main function. Well, here we're calling this file index.py by default. If you uncomment this, I'm going to leave that there just in case you want that functionality, but I'm leaving it commented out because I'm going to call the file that I want directly. Okay, so close that out. And that's it. That's all we had to do is basically add. This is sort of the meat and potatoes of this tutorial here, is to just add this capability right here. So we say Control X to save. We say yes to save it, and then close it. Okay. Now we're going to restart. Oops. We're gonna restart Apache. So sudo service Apache 2 restart. That's it. So now Apache will restart, and anything that's in here we can. It's going to restart with those configurations that we just put into the file. Okay, so now we're done. Now what we're going to do is test the system. So we need to test. What we want to do is test to see if we can read and write to and from a MySQL database using Python. Okay, so how we do that? First thing we need to do is actually log into MySQL and create a database and a table to hold the data. So how we do that is we say MySQL. Don't worry if you don't know this yet. This is just login as a user or root with a password. Okay, we're gonna put the password in. This is the password that was created when we downloaded and installed MySQL. Okay, so now what we're going to simply do is create schema or database, and we're going to call it example. And just to show you, this is an example. So we created a database. Now within that database, actually we need to select basically. So we say use the database called example. Okay, so now we've selected that database, and within this database, we're going to create a table. Create table, and we're going to call it my table, something simple like that. And it's going to have a number that's an integer, and it's going to be, I don't know, some text. Make it a varchar of 20 characters. Okay, that's it. So we've got a table. It's created, and now we're going to fill this table using Python script. Okay, so if you press Control and D, it exits the MySQL. Okay, so now all we have to do is we're going to create index.py at the location where the Apache server is. So sudo, we're going to use nano to write the file. You can use any text editor, but for now I'm just going to use this because it's pretty simple. HTML. Okay, and we're going to create index.py. Okay, so we're going to create it here, and you can copy and paste the code that I'm about to write here into this file, or type it with me. Okay, so this is a hash bang, hash and then bang. It basically shows the location of your Python, where Python is installed. So user bin environment Python. Okay, there's a couple other. You can actually alternatively put the location to your Python installation here as well. But anyway, these are the. That's one way to do it. So the first thing we're going to do is turn on the debug mode. Okay. Okay, and so we do that by importing a module, import, okay, called cjitb. Okay, and we're going to call a method within that module. So cjitb, or actually a function within that module, cjitb dot enable. Okay, and then we're going to print some headers that are required for HTML files. So required headers. So say print. In here we're going to say content type is text HTML. And then the char set equals UTF-8. Close and close. Print. So here I'm just going to print a line. Now what I want to do first is print hello, I don't know, hello world or something like that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this. Control X. Save it. We'll come back to this in a second. We haven't connected to the database yet. But what I'd like to do is test to see if index.py prints hello world. Okay, so I'm going to go here. Localhosts, now I'm going to call index.py. See if it prints. So I have a server error. There might be an issue with the way that I created it. I'm going to take a look and see what's happening with the server error, and I'll come back in a second. Okay. Okay, so I noticed an error here. I had instead of a comma here, or instead of a semicolon, or a colon actually, I had a semicolon. So I replaced that. So save that. The other thing I think what I should do before I do it, I should change the permissions on this file to be able to run. So I say sudo and now chmod 755. Basically I'm saying that the user, which is me, I'm giving myself read and execute permissions to HTML index.py. Okay, so I'm giving execute permissions to myself, and it now can run. You see, so that's very important. So I'm basically checking to see that index.py has permission to run. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go in and continue add some more functionality to index.py. I want to be able to connect to the database now. So I've verified that Python is working, but now I want to verify that I can connect to the MySQL database using Python. Okay, so let's go here and connect to the database. So the first thing we need to do is import PyMySQL. So let's say connect to database, and then we want to import PyMySQL. Okay, and then so we're importing a package, and then we say the connection that we want to make is PyMySQL, and we're going to call a function called connect, and then we put in our database and everything like that. So we go db equals example, because that's what we named the database that we created. User is root, so you password PASSWD, and then here you put in your password. Okay, whatever it is whatever you put in there when you created it, and host is localhost. Okay, close that off, and then we say c equals con dot cursor. If we call this file more than once, we're going to be continuously inserting, so we're going to clear everything that's in the database. Okay, so clear the database if it's not already empty. Okay, so basically it's just we're just going to call c.execute. We're going to truncate my table. Okay, and then close that off. Okay, so here we create a connection. Here we created a connection, and then we created another object called C using the cursor function. Okay, which is a method, or excuse me, method of this object. Okay, that's this connection that's created by connect function. Okay, so c.execute. Whenever you see this is a method of this object, and basically you just put in, these are MySQL commands that go in here. Don't worry if you don't know these yet, but we'll take a look at them at a later date. Okay, so here this just means we're going to clear the database. Okay, the next step is we're going to now insert some data into the database. Insert data into database, and here we're just going to do some we're just going to hard code. Okay, so we're going to say c.execute. Okay, and now here's an SQL command, a MySQL command. Insert into my table, which is a table there, and then we just say values. And here, this one we're expecting an integer, and the next one we're expecting some text. I don't know, I'm just going to go with this here. Okay, and then we close off, and then we close the execute function. Okay, and we can do this as many times as we want. Let's see if we can highlight. Now it doesn't let me highlight. Doesn't let me select, so I'm gonna have to type it out again. So c.execute. I don't know. Let's insert 2 into the table. How's that? Insert into my table. And there we go. Values. Let's insert 2. Okay. All right, and then these are just commands that will be executed, and they won't be executed until we say con, until we call the commit method of this object. That's it. Okay, and then so now we're just going to print the contents of, oops, print, I don't know, contents of the database. Okay. So we've added stuff into the database, and here we're going to actually print it. So we say c.execute, and then we say select everything from my table. Okay, and then we're just going to print and we're going to call the fetch all. To else fetch all method. Okay, and that will print whatever's in the database. All right, so let's close and save, which is just those 2 values there. We're going to save it. Press enter. Okay, now we go back to our Python website, I guess you could call it, and it should say hello world, and then it should say 1 and 2, 2. So if we run, we've got our hello world, which was in our file, and then we have what's in our database. This was just the result of the fetch all function. Okay, so that's basically it. So this is just a basic using Python, web-based Python, so using an Apache server And basically that's it. So you're basically accessing a database using Python within Apache on a server. All right, I hope you learned something. I hope this helps, and we'll see you next time.